And across the country, something extraordinary is happening. Iranians are fed up with the Islamic regime that has ruled for over 40 years. And now a powerful movement has started to overthrow the current government. Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, who was exiled from Iran 46 years ago, has declared that the current regime has reached the end of the road. And for the first time in decades, millions of Iranians are proving him right. The protest began on December 28th and spread fast. Within 4 days, demonstrations had erupted in at least 21 of Iran's 31 states. Tehran, Isfahan, Mashhad, Shiraz, Kermanshah, Hamadan, and dozens of smaller cities. Fox News described it bluntly. Iran ground to a near standstill as businesses, universities, and government offices closed amid protests caused by a growing political and economic crisis. The Iranian people have watched their currency collapse, losing half its value in a single year. Inflation has hit 42%. Food prices have surged 72% year on year, and average monthly wages have dropped to the equivalent of just over $100. For millions of Iranians, basic necessities have become completely unaffordable. Former US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo put it simply. It's no surprise that the people of Iran are taking to the streets to protest the collapsing economy, but this isn't just about money. For years, the regime has poured billions into proxy wars across the Middle East. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, militias in Iraq and Yemen, all while ordinary Iranians watch their savings disappear. That's why protesters are chanting, "Neither Gaza nor Lebanon, my life for Iran." The regime's response has been brutal. In Fasa, police opened fire with live ammunition. In Loristan, at least one security officer was killed and 13 wounded in clashes with crowds. Across 21 provinces, authorities ordered complete shutdowns, officially blaming cold weather. Nobody believes that. And in city after city, one name keeps echoing through the streets. A name that hasn't held power in Iran since 1979. Pahlavi will return. So, who is this man that millions of Iranians are suddenly calling for? And why is a family that lost power 46 years ago suddenly the symbol of hope? Reza Pahlavi is the son of Iran's last Shah. His father, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, ruled Iran for 37 years until the 1979 Islamic Revolution. That revolution replaced the monarchy with a theocracy led by Ayatollah Khomeini, and it forced the entire royal family into exile. Reza was just 17 years old. He'd been training as a fighter pilot at an American air base in Texas, and he never got to go home. His father died in Egypt 18 months later. And on his 20th birthday, Reza Pahlavi declared himself the rightful Shah of Iran. That was 46 years ago. He has spent every year since in exile near Washington, D.C., watching wave after wave of protests challenge the regime. The Green Movement in 2009. The fuel protests in 2019, the Masa Amini uprising in 2022. Each time, the Revolutionary Guards crushed the protesters. Each time, the regime survived. But Pahlavi believes this time is different. The current regime has reached the end of the road, he declared this week. It stands at its most fragile, weak, deeply divided, and unable to suppress the courage of a rising nation. He compared this moment to the fall of the Berlin Wall. And across Iran, crowds are proving him right. They're chanting, "Javid Shah, long live the king." They're waving the old Iranian flag with the lion and sun that the Islamic Republic banned. For the first time since the revolution, the return of the monarchy isn't just exile talk. It's being shouted in the streets of Tehran. But there's another reason this moment feels different. It's not just what protesters are calling for. It's who the regime has chosen to send against them. On December 27th, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei made his move. He appointed Brigadier General Ahmad Vahidi as the Deputy Commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. That makes Vahidi the effective number 2 in Iran's most powerful military and security organization. To understand why this matters, you need to understand who Ahmad Vahidi actually is. He's wanted by Interpol. In 1994, a bomb tore through the AMIA Jewish Community Center in Buenos Aires. 85 civilians were killed. Argentine and Western investigators traced the attack back to Iran's Quds Force, the elite external operations unit of the Revolutionary Guards. and they named Vahidi, who was Quds force commander at the time, as one of the key planners. Interpol issued a red notice for his arrest. It remains active to this day, but that's not the only blood on his hands. In 2022, a young woman named Mahsa Amini died in police custody after being arrested for not wearing her hijab properly. Her death sparked the largest protests Iran had seen in years. Hundreds were killed. Thousands were arrested. Ahmad Vahidi was the interior minister at the time. He directed the crackdown. The United States and European Union sanctioned him specifically for that repression. And now Khamenei has promoted him to crush this uprising. The Jerusalem Post summarized his record simply. Vahidi is wanted by Interpol for the 1994 AMI bombing and was sanctioned for his role in crushing the Amini protests. Western analysts at the Critical Threats Project concluded that Vahidi's appointment reflects the challenges Khamenei faces in trying to reconstitute Iran's military leadership. They believe it signals the regime's confidence in his ability to manage internal security challenges. In other words, when the Islamic Republic needs someone to kill its own people, Ahmad Vahidi is the man they call. But promoting a terrorist to save the regime tells you something else. It tells you how few options they have left. Vahidi isn't the only sign of desperation. As the protests spread, Iran's central bank governor resigned. The currency was in freefall. President Masoud Pezeshkian replaced him with Abdel Nasser Hemati, a man he described as taking on a job that is extremely difficult and complex. But here's the problem. Hemati was previously dismissed from a government post over alleged mismanagement that hurt the rial. The regime is so short of credible officials that they're recycling people who failed in the same role before. The government's public messaging has been equally confused. Iran's top prosecutor, Mohammad Movahed Azad, warned of a decisive response if protesters destabilize the country. But 79 Iranian flag, the one with the lion and sun emblem that the Islamic Republic banned. These aren't people asking for reform. They're not demanding lower prices or better management. They're calling for the complete destruction of the Islamic Republic and the return of a system that was overthrown before most of them were born. In Farsa, crowds didn't just protest. They seized control of the city centre, stormed the governor's headquarters, and broke open a local jail. Security forces fired live rounds. The protesters didn't stop. Iran International reported crowds in Bagmalek chanting, "This year will be a year of blood. Sayyid Ali will be toppled," referring directly to Supreme Leader Khamenei. And from his exile in Washington, D.C., Reza Pahlavi is watching every moment. He issued a direct warning to Western governments. If the West offers the regime a lifeline, it will lead to further bloodshed and disorder. As long as it remains in power, no nation or people will be safe, whether in Paris, Jerusalem, or elsewhere. That statement is deliberate. Pahlavi isn't just speaking to Iranians. He's framing the survival of the Islamic Republic as a threat to the entire West. And he's connecting Tehran directly to Moscow and Beijing. Iran isn't just a regional problem. It's a critical partner for both Russia and China. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Iran has supplied Moscow with drones and munitions. Shahid drones have struck Ukrainian cities, killed civilians, and helped Russia sustain its offensive operations. In return, Russia has shielded Tehran diplomatically at the United Nations. A destabilized Iran threatens those supply lines. It undercuts Russia's drone advantage. And it humiliates the Kremlin, which has presented its alliance with Tehran as proof that the anti-Western bloc is growing. Every Western headline about Vahidi's promotion, highlighting his Interpol red notice and his history of crushing protesters, reinforces the narrative that Russia's partners are terrorist states. For China, the situation is equally difficult. Beijing has expanded economic ties with Iran. It has positioned itself as a responsible stabilizer in the Middle East, offering win-win cooperation. But images of security forces shooting protesters, universities on strike, and monarchist slogans echoing through major cities make that narrative impossible to sustain. Reza Pahlavi understands this dynamic. Peace in the Middle East and stability across the world depend on a free Iran, he declared.